fishing hole. Grab your hat, get your pole. Let's go fishing when you're in the mood.
Canadian Sport Fishing has been brought to you in part by Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Yamaha, conquer outdoors. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Northeastern Ontario, undeniably big, unbelievably close.
One of my favorite fish to target in the summertime is none other than the largemouth bass. It seems that the hotter the weather gets, the more active bass become. That's one of the main reasons I love the hot days of summer. Fish? Yep. Wow, that's good. You're nice and controlled. You know, I love it when people that fish with me get the first fish. That's awesome. I'm fishing with Rich Kinsman. You know, that's not bad for, what, fishing 10 minutes? Here, if you swing them closer, hopefully you won't jump and get the hooks in me. There's a nice largemouth. Now, you know, a lot of people might think that using a really bright bait like that in the middle of the day doesn't work so good. Guess what? It actually triggers them to strike. Very nice. Healthy looking fish, eh?
Absolutely.
He just said bye-bye. You know what? I would stick to that bait for a few more casts before you change up. All right. Yay! Nice bass. Come on. Come on. Nice solid 3-pounder. You know what? It was right in the channel. Is he gonna fall off? He didn't fall off. Look, he's only got one hook. Is this fun or what?
Beautiful.
Middle of the day. You know, we didn't get up here till about almost noon out on the water. That's one thing I love about bass fishing. They love the middle of the day. They love warm weather. Look at nice largemouth, gorgeous colors. It's gonna lower them down. They're kind of dark a little bit. They're not really green. It's more like brown because of the color of the water. Because it does have a little bit of like a stain to it, like a tea color. Okay, there he goes. Now, you know, we're both using crankbaits, but these crankbaits only dive down to about 4 feet. You can see this one, they actually call it a coffin lip, because instead of having a round lip, the edges are cut off. And what that does is give it a real erratic action from side to side. So these look like little shad. And the reason we're using these, I know in this lake there's a lot of panfish. So this would have the profile of like a sunfish or a bluegill or a hybrid. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're really whacking them. I'm not the only angler that loves to catch bass in the summertime. Unfortunately, many of the lakes that we have in southern Ontario, close to urban areas, get pounded during the summertime, during the week and even on weekends. That's why I don't mind driving 3 or 4, even 5 hours to find secluded lakes that have less pressure and more bass to catch.
Beauty.
Not bad, eh? For afternoon fishing.
This is living.
Mine took me into the weeds. Yeah, they're about the same size. Look, nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
See, if we were staying and having shore lunch, this is actually the size that you would eat. I would throw the bigger ones back because you get nice fillets. On tandem, 1, 2, 3, and release. There we go. Beautiful. This week, besides fishing some beautiful remote lakes, I have the pleasure of staying at a Confederation log home. These homes are gorgeous and they blend right in with the surroundings. It's the perfect setting after a day's fishing to relax and to exchange big fish stories. So Rich, is this okay? I know you're a hard worker. You don't mind taking the day off to like work with me on the water?
I'm having a great time. This is awesome.
Nice jump. Oh, nice release. You're such a sportsman.
Saves handling them.
Yeah, I like that idea, especially if we're not eating them. When it comes to finding productive back lakes for largemouth and smallmouth bass, it's actually quite easy. One of the things that I do is contact the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. I speak to a fish and wildlife technician or a biologist, and I get the information on some of the best lakes to fish that are a little bit out of the way. They're very knowledgeable, and in many cases, they can even provide you fish and wildlife maps that have contour lines of the lake and where there's a launch site. That really helps me to find areas that have good fishing. Mr. Bass. Kind of getting spoiled by getting all these, you know, kind of mediocre size. Whoa, watch the treble hooks. There. No harm done. Nice little largemouth. There. Nice one. It's broadside. Okay, I'm gonna watch and see if I can learn something, okay?
Another beauty.
Nice one. You did that very well without pliers.
Not bad.
You know, that's about a dozen fish so far in a couple of hours, an hour and a half. Nice jump. He was saying goodbye to you.
Make them dance.
When I'm looking for these remote lakes, I strategically look for lakes that are a little tougher to get into. Sometimes you need a four-wheel drive vehicle, not because the roads are really bad, but they're up and down. But I have to be able to get the boat in the water. I love to use different techniques for catching fish, but when it comes to bass fishing, I love to use crankbaits. Couple of reasons. One is you can fish them really quick, cast and retrieve, fish them shallow, fish them deep, and when fish hit them, they usually nail them and they literally hook themselves because of the treble hooks. Now, interesting enough, today we're fishing for largemouth bass and targeting some of the water that's a little bit deeper and offshore. So where a lot of fishermen were fishing along the shorelines, we were casting out in anywhere from 8 to 12 feet of water where those weeds ended, or there were isolated weed clumps or isolated rock piles. And we're actually using this particular crankbait. It's called a dive stew. This one is the flat, and they call it flat because you can see the body shape isn't very wide. It's not oval. And it also has a very short lip. So this is the dive stew flat, and it's the number 4.
Closed captioning is brought to you by MD Marine Insurance. Boat insurance made easy.
When I'm fishing an unfamiliar lake, the first thing I do is try to find isolated structure. I try to find weed beds that are out in the open, and especially if there's an old creek channel, because some of the lakes are actually reservoirs because dams have been erected at the bottom end of a river, and then it's created a long lake, sometimes 2-3 miles in length. And when I find these areas to fish, I usually start by casting crankbaits. You hit out in the open, he's surfing in, small guy, come on. Where's your big brothers and sisters? It's a smallmouth. What is a smallmouth doing on a largemouth spot? It's a small smallmouth. You know what? I'm just gonna shake him off. He got off. Nice hit. Yeah, he's right on top. From plastics to fishing with hard baits, and I love just cranking. You can see this guy, middle of the day, he's not a monster, but we're getting literally nonstop action. About every few minutes we got a bass on. We're just trying to go through these little guys to get at some of those bigger guys. Look, just classic largemouth. When I'm fishing some of these remote northern lakes, they can have a mix of largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, pike, sometimes even walleye. So I often rig rods for several different presentations, usually 4 to 8 rods. Some of them are spinning rods for casting lighter lures, like topwater lures or some of the lighter jigs. Some are bait casting outfits for casting crankbaits, sometimes spinners. So I find that having the rods set up with different weight of lines on them and different fluorocarbon leaders really gives me the versatility of changing my presentation real quick.
I'm gonna bring him in because he's gonna get off.
Oh, he's just on there. Good. I was hoping you wouldn't put your thumb right on that hook.
I did, I'm just not telling you about it.
Good job. You know what? That's a chunky fish for its size, for
Not
its
bad.
length. Nice one.
Beauty.
And there's no weeds here, it's just rocks. Right on that rock point. I think there's a bunch of fish down there.
Yep.
So that we can have some fun here in this spot. We're just trying to get those big ones. They're hitting great. It's fun to catch these all day long. We're looking for those 18 to 20 inchers. We've had a great time catching both large and smallmouth bass today. We got quite a few of the largemouth fishing crankbaits and fishing out in the open, but around weed beds and weed lines in about 8 to 12 feet of water. But we also got quite a few fish using plastic grubs. Now, one of the ones that produced really well is the swim fish from Lunker City. And you can see I've got this one rigged up on one of those finesse heads. And it's about the 4-inch long one, 3.5 inch, and it's perfect because it has that tail action that goes from side to side. When we decided to go for smallmouth, we were getting them on grubs as well on the bottom, the swim fish, but we also did well fishing the tubes. So here's one rigged up. You can see this one's a little bit darker color. This one is called a pumpkin seed, which is a traditional color for a tube. Now, I've got to tell you that the tube jigs that we were using actually have rattles in them. So you see how tapered this jig is? It has a 60-degree offset eye, and it has that little bit of like a brass or copper tube, and inside there are rattles. So we inserted that right up the middle of the tube and fished them right along the bottom. Now, one of the reasons that I like that offset eye is that when you pull it, the actual head of the tube comes up and rides over the rocks.
My name is Rich Kinson. I'm the VP of Sales at 1867 Confederation Log and Timber Frame. We've had a great couple of days on the water, catching a ton of awesome fish, but I have to say, there's no better feeling than coming back to a beautiful log and timber frame cottage, and that's what we have here. Each one of our homes is custom designed and manufactured to the client's specifications. Whether it's a bungalow, story and a half, full walkout basement, we'll take that plan and do a complete 3D virtual walkthrough and go through each room in the house before production. So if you're considering a build, check out 1867 Confederation Log and Timber Frame. See why for nearly 40 years, our clients come off the lake of a great day of fishing and say, this is living.
Now, when you're fishing a new lake, and especially if you're fishing an area where the water's the same depth, like 14 to 20 feet like it is here, it's crucial to find structure on the bottom that comes up, sometimes up to 5-6 feet from the surface. Unfortunately, even the CMAP charts don't have the hydrographic information because it isn't charted. So what I'm doing is relying on the chirp technology and the down vision to clearly mark the rocks. As you can see here, the rocks are starting to come up to about 8-7 feet, which is perfect. So when you find a hump like that in open water, it's like a magnet where fish come to feed. Sometimes you'll get one bass, sometimes they'll be small, sometimes you'll get several bass, and they can be large in size. So having a sonar that gives you a really clear signal is really important, especially if you're fishing a lake where a chart isn't available. You know, this bass fishing is pretty stressful, as you can see. Look, middle of the day, we're still catching fish. Rich, you asked me earlier, how come I didn't bring a net? We don't need no stinking net.
We don't need a net.
We're pros, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Seasoned.
So this guy's got 2 hooks in him. I'm trying to be gentle because we are releasing them. And a lot of the fish we've caught have had the front crankbait, the front hook in its mouth. That means they've hit the crankbait head first. Look, nice little largemouth. Be pretty. Nice colors. You know, these fish aren't monsters, but we've caught so many. We've probably got about a dozen of them, and they're great sport, especially when they're out in open water. And I know it's just a matter of time before we get a bigger one. The weeds are so thick out here in the open. You know, when you find these open water weed beds, sometimes you find a whole bunch of them, but they tend to be the same size. We call them like age classes or schooling fish because they're in open water. So sometimes they'll be, you know, 14 to 15 inches. Like this guy's probably about 14 inches. Some days they're all like 18 to 22. I just can't get over how healthy they are. And these guys aren't feeding along the shoreline on frogs or insects. They're actually open water feeders looking for smaller fish to eat, even smaller bass. Okay, oh, that sun is starting to get a little bit goldy, which is beautiful. This is one of the nicest times of the day to be fishing out here because it's a little bit cooler. If I look that way, you can see the way the sun is just glistening off the water. It's heavenly. Oh good, he's hooked just in the snout by one hook. I wonder if he's gonna get off. I don't think he's quite done fighting yet, and I think he's gonna jump. Yes, perfect release. I don't have to handle it and get hurt. Yeah. You the man, Rich. What's your secret?
I don't know if he's coming in with the weeds.
That's okay. And he was in the weeds.
Yeah.
Yep, small bass. That's some nice weed, Rich.
Right in there.
Yeah, I've seen some weeds, but those are really nice weeds. They got to be like 3-footers.
Yeah.
Do bass love weeds or what?
They do.
Yeah.
He was hiding deep in there.
It's funny, a lot of guys wouldn't fish crankbaits like this around weeds. Guess what, Rich? We got us a smallmouth.
It's a nice one.
That's a good size fish.
That's a beauty.
High five, even if it gets off.
Absolutely.
This is awesome. That's one thing I love about smallmouth. They are so acrobatic. You know, it's funny because on the Raymarine, I marked what looked like a big fish. I told you, right?
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
They said, I don't know if that's a big smallmouth or it's a piece of wood, but it was like in 30 feet of water. Guess what? It was a smallmouth. It's a little bit too big to lift, so I'm going to try the lipping. Yeah! Good smallmouth.
Beauty.
Look at the way it was hooked. Because we're using light line, and this is a spinning outfit, I set that hook several times, but there's a nice smallmouth, you know. So when you get into some of these northern lakes, you can get a mix of large and smallmouth bass. And this has kind of been challenging because I haven't been on this lake before, you know. So we're kind of doing a little bit of exploring, kind of using the map that we got from the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. But look you can get some nice fish, and we're dealing with cold front conditions. So this is actually a really nice fish. Okay, what a nice chunky smallmouth. I did the hand change, look at that. Gorgeous models and colors. You know what, he's gonna go slowly. There he goes. Sometimes when I'm on these remote lakes, there's no hydrographic charts that you can use on your fish finder. So I still rely on my Raymarine fish finder, and I have a rough outline with the paper chart that I have in my hand that shows me rough contour lines. So it is critical to go at slow speeds. I never blast off and go on plane in unfamiliar areas. And I always look at my down vision screen to see what I'm coming up to. That's probably one of the most important tools that I have in my boat. The Raymarine fish finder, so I can see the structure, the weed lines, and the fish, and also the Motor Guide Electric to keep me on those areas so I can fish them very effectively. Those tools are very important, not just to find the fish, but to stay on top of them and to catch them. All right, on Topwater.
Yes, sir.
Way to go, Rich.
Yes, guy.
Just after oh, he's trying to get off. Hopefully he's not on my line, right?
He probably is.
No, I think you're okay. You're underneath me. It's a largemouth. Way to go. On a topwater, on a point. Now this is very interesting. Earlier we were fishing in shallower water with crankbaits. We didn't really try topwater, but we didn't get any bass really shallow. Now we're fishing like in 20, 30 feet, wham, and you get one on the skitter pop. Neat, eh?
Right on top. And it's like we were talking about this morning. When it hit, you got to make sure you don't overreact and pull. You got to wait for it to actually take the lure and then set the hook.
Good thing we've got the catch and release. No, those are serious pliers.
They are. Man pliers.
Yeah. Good hook set. Yeah, you know what you're doing with Topwater.
He wasn't getting off.
No. Nice release.
Thank you. That thing, that hit really hard.
Good.
Came in good too.
Yeah, yeah. Have you seen it yet?
No.
It's a huge walleye.
Beautiful.
I didn't even know there were walleye in here. Keep the pressure on. That is like a 9 pound walleye. Okay, I'm gonna try to grab it because we don't have a net. I'm not gonna lip it. That is a huge fish. Hope it doesn't get off. Try to keep its head in the water if you can. Oh man. Okay. What a nice yellow walleye. Okay, bring it a little closer. Come on, come on. Oh, look at this.
Beautiful.
Nice bass. You know, we're here casting for bass, smallmouth. Look at the size of this fish. Let me just change hands here. Now, I'm trying to be very careful because I've got my fingers in the gill plate, not in the actual gills. Isn't that a nice walleye? Wow, look at how yellow that belly is. I love the way you hooked it, just perfectly.
Yep, that's like we were talking about this morning.
How did it hit? Did it hit light or not? Like, did you feel it? Pick it up?
Yeah, I picked it up and then I set the hook and he came up pretty good.
Wow, and that's on the swim fish. That's at Lunker City. And look, it produced big time.
Sure did.
What a gorgeous fish. Okay, time to let this beautiful walleye go. Oh, he wants to go. There's no doubt about it. Just get his head in the water. What a big fish. That's one thing about walleye. Look, such a predator fish. Big head. Beautiful release. Oh, do you like eating walleye?
Sure do.
Oh,
Gotta catch another one.
I'm sorry about that. Good release, eh? You know, you're a sportsman, letting that big fish go.
Yeah.
Canadian Sport Fishing has been brought to you in part by Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Yamaha, conquer outdoors. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Northeastern Ontario, undeniably big, unbelievably close.
Now, I don't, do you think I should, like, use them in tandem? Or, this is what happens when you put them all in one box. What color should I use? Look, actually, it almost looks like jewelry. You could do a necklace, you know what I mean? No. Do I go with the natural color?
I'd go bright.
Bright, like chartreuse or bright like silver?
Bright like mine.
Wow, that's bright. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go with it. Now, remember I said it rattles? Listen. Can you hear the rattle?
Yeah.
It's like that.
That'll wake them up.
Did you have another one on?